Welcome, friend of quiet hours, as night settles gently and the fading day dissolves into softer, slower shadows. Let your breath move with patience, flowing inward like the tide, then slipping away again, soft and unseen. Tonight we wander through old stories, carried gently from distant winters, where firelight glowed and voices moved carefully. These are tales of Thor, whose strength rumbles like far thunder, of Hela, who waits with endless silence, and of Loki, whose sly smile bends the world quietly, weaving light and shadow through every pause of fate. Their names once echoed with storms, but tonight they arrive as whispers, covering thought like snow falling gently. Do not cling to the words. Let them pass like water flowing onward, whether you follow them or not. You may listen or drift or close your eyes and wonder. The stories will continue without your keeping. Every tale begins with a gift, shining and alive. Then time twists it, reshapes it, and slowly takes it. What is gained is always changed. What is changed is always carried forward. Nothing is ever truly forgotten. These stories will rise and fade, like smoke that drifts upward, leaving faint traces of scent, shadow, and silence. If you sleep before the end, the tales will continue. If you wander, they will wait quietly. And if you find comfort here, you may subscribe to channel and share this video with others who may need rest. Please write in the comments where you are joining us from. It is always fascinating to see what distant places quietly gather here. Rest now and let your mind loosen, for the old voices are patient and their stories are eternal. The first begins soon, with Thor and the sea, a tale of strength, silence, and something lost forever. Chapter 1. Thor and the Fisherman's Challenge. Thor walked along the shore slowly, each step pressed into the sand as the tide crept forward again. The sky above was pale and wide, stretching with quiet colors that blurred together as evening shadows lengthened softly. Waves lapped gently against the stones, their rhythm unbroken, their song low and steady, filling the silent air patiently. He carried his hammer, though it hung loosely by his side, unused, heavy, a symbol more than a weapon. No storm followed him, no lightning broke above, only the whisper of the sea carried through endless distance. The air smelled of salt and kelp, fresh yet ancient, clinging to the skin like memory never leaving. Far from battlefields, far from shouts and fire, Thor seemed smaller here, a figure quiet against the vast horizon. The sea did not bow to him, nor rise against him. It only breathed its constant, endless breath. He paused where the water met his feet and let the cold edge of foam curl around his ankles. In that moment, he was not a wielder of storms, but simply a traveler, standing between land and water. And the sea, eternal and unmoved, watched him with silence, offering no judgment, only presence, deep, dark, unbroken presence. The boat rested on the edge of the shore, its wood darkened by age, carrying the scent of salt. Thor placed his hand upon the worn planks,
feeling the grain smooth from years of tides and storms. The oars lay beside it, long and heavy, their ends polished pale by countless hours within the moving sea. When he pushed the vessel into the water, it groaned softly, then floated free, swaying with the tide's pull. Climbing inside, Thor lowered the oars, and each slow stroke echoed like a heartbeat against the wide silence. The sea stretched endless around him, silver where the sun touched it, shadowed where clouds drifted lazily across the sky. Every dip of the oar sent circles across the surface, widening, fading, swallowed back into the waiting deep. He rowed not with haste, but with patience, each pull measured, each breath timed with the rhythm of water. The sound was gentle, wood against water, pause and push, again and again, until thought itself became quiet. The further he went, the smaller the land appeared, fading behind him until only sea and sky remained. Nothing stirred except for the ripples trailing the boat, vanishing as quickly as they came, leaving silence complete. And Thor, seated within the wooden cradle of the boat, drifted steadily forward, a calm figure borne by water.
From the far edge of the waves, a second boat appeared, steady and slow, carrying the figure of Hymir. He was large, his shoulders broad, his arms thick, yet his movements were measured, careful, and almost gentle. The wood creaked beneath his weight as he rowed, his strokes strong but unhurried, in rhythm with the tide. His eyes were deep set, watching the horizon without strain, as though he had always known these waters closely. Though giant in form, there was no anger in him, only endurance, like stone, weathered but still unbroken. Thor raised his head, and the two men met upon the waves, their boats rocking in quiet unison. Hymir spoke little, his voice low, carrying no sharpness, only the steady tone of one used to silence. The giant's boat bore nets and ropes, their edges frayed, their scent strong with fish and brine left long. Thor said nothing of storms or power, but asked to sit with Hymir, to share the work slowly. Together they set the lines, their hands steady, their movements neither hurried nor strained, patient as passing hours. The water closed over the hooks, vanishing into shadow, leaving only ripples that shimmered before fading into stillness. And side by side, giant and traveler, they waited quietly, the sea rocking them gently, like cradles in eternity.
The sea stretched around them without end, a sheet of shifting silver, its surface unbroken except for the smallest waves. The oars rested against the boat, still dripping with water, while silence grew heavy, pressing upon every breath they took. Thor's hands held the line, fingers curled with quiet strength, yet his eyes followed the horizon with patient calm. Hymir sat beside him, unmoving, his gaze lowered, as if listening for sounds hidden beneath the endless waters. The boat rocked slowly, its wooden frame creaking in rhythm, like an ancient song, repeating without change, without end. Minutes blended into hours, though neither man counted them, for time was swallowed by the weight of the sea. A gull passed above, its cry faint, fading quickly into distance, leaving only silence, wide and uninterrupted once more. Beneath the surface,
Shadows drifted unseen, and the lines sank deeper, vanishing into the dark where eyes could not follow. Every ripple that touched the boat seemed to speak, though softly, telling of hidden movement far below, silent and unseen. Thor breathed deeply, his chest rising and falling with the same rhythm as the rocking boat and the restless tide. And so they waited, two figures upon the sea, listening to nothing, expecting nothing, carried forward by endless stillness. The line in Thor's hands grew heavy, not with the weight of fish, but with something vast and unseen. At first, it was a gentle pull, steady as the tide, a whisper beneath the waves, patient and slow. Thor tightened his grip, feeling the cord tremble like a living thing, stretching, straining, reaching down into the deep. Heimer lifted his head slightly, eyes narrowing, though he did not speak, for words were too small for this moment. The sea darkened where the line disappeared, circles widening outward, breaking the smooth surface, then vanishing into silence again. Thor pulled, muscles coiling, his breath slow and measured, while the boat rocked, its sides creaking beneath invisible pressure below. From the dark water rose a shape immense, unseen in full, yet felt, its presence vast as the horizon itself. Jormungandr stirred, the world serpent, its body endless, coils shifting deep beneath, while only glimpses broke the water's trembling face. The sound was not roar nor cry, but the dragging of water, the groaning of the sea beneath strain. For a heartbeat, Thor's strength met the serpent's weight, a balance between man and endless depth, held in fragile stillness. Then, slowly, the line slackened, slipping from his grasp, as the great serpent sank back into shadow, leaving silence behind. The water closed over the place where it had been, unbroken once more, as if nothing had stirred at all. The sea grew still again, as though the serpent had never risen, its surface smooth, swallowing every trace of struggle. Thor loosened his hands, the line falling slack across the boards, wet and coiled, lifeless beneath the weight of silence. Heimer said nothing, though his eyes lingered on the horizon, as if measuring what had passed and what remained unseen. The boat rocked gently, no longer strained, its wooden ribs sighing with each small wave, returning to their ancient rhythm. Thor's breath slowed, his shoulders easing, though his gaze stayed fixed on the dark water, calm yet unwilling to yield. His hammer lay beside him, heavy, certain, a weapon of storms, but untouched, quiet, as though forgotten for this hour. Together they turned the boat, the oars dipping once more, carrying them back toward the faint outline of the shore. The land seemed distant, yet patient, rising slowly from haze, waiting as it always had, untouched by the sea's secrets. Each stroke of the oar brought them nearer, though the silence never lifted, holding their thoughts as tightly as their shadows. Thor rested his hand upon the wood, feeling the heartbeat of the vessel, steady, carrying him toward familiar earth again. When the keel touched sand, the boat settled, the sea releasing it softly, as though reluctant to give up its hold. Thor stepped onto the shore, his figure still, his thoughts hidden, the sea behind him whispering of what it had kept. The shore lay quiet beneath his feet, the sand cool, the air faint with salt, the horizon stretching unbroken and wide. Thor stood for a moment without speaking, his figure outlined by fading light as the waves rolled gently against the land. The hammer at his side gleamed dully, a promise of storms. Yet tonight it remained still, silent, without call or demand. Behind him, the sea whispered softly, carrying secrets in its rhythm, pulling them back into depths where no eyes could follow. Hymir turned away first, his steps heavy but steady, his shadow merging with the growing dusk along the shore. Thor lingered, his thoughts drifting with the tide, caught between presence and absence, between power and silence, between memory and dream. The serpent remained below, vast, eternal, waiting in darkness, patient as stone, its coils circling unseen through the world's foundation. And though no battle was won, no triumph declared, the moment carried weight, a thread woven into the endless fabric of time. Some said the sea itself remembered, keeping the faint tremor of that struggle within its song, low and endless, never ceasing. Some said the wind held echoes, carrying them softly through cliffs and forests, so faint they passed like forgotten breath. Thor turned at last, leaving the shore behind, his footsteps fading, the night settling, the sea's whisper following quietly forever. And in that stillness, the story remained, not triumph, not defeat, but a lingering presence, like a dream half remembered, never fully gone.
Chapter 2. Hela, Keeper of the Quiet Realm. Beneath the earth, where roots twist deep, there lies a hall of stone that no wind ever reaches. Its pillars rise like frozen trees, unbending and dark, and their shadows fall across floors that echo with no sound. The air within is neither warm nor cold, but steady, holding a stillness that lingers like breath never exhaled. Here flows a river, pale as silver, gliding through the stone without ripple, its surface smooth and unbroken forever. It does not hurry, it does not pause, and its light glimmers faintly against the dark walls that surround it. The river does not carry no storm, no foam, no surge, only the patient whisper of water passing, endless and unchanged. Beside its path stretch long corridors, carved smooth and bare, where silence waits at every turn like a quiet sentinel. There are no flames, no flickers, no songs, only the soft, pale shimmer that touches the stones and fades again. The hall does not call, it does not push away, it simply rests in stillness, as though waiting without end. Here the living have no place, and yet all paths one day bend toward these silent and patient stones. Within that hall of shadow and silver there stands a figure whose presence neither shakes nor softens the silence. Her face is pale as worn stone, divided between what seems living and what seems already faded into absence. One eye glimmers faintly, calm and steady, while the other seems veiled, gazing inward where no mortal eye may follow. She wears no crown, no bright sign of power, yet her stillness bends the hall more deeply than any command. Those who arrive find no anger in her gaze, no kindness either, only the unchanging patience of one who waits. Her hands are quiet, resting upon her side as though holding the weight of all time without strain or effort. She does not walk swiftly, nor does she linger long, but every motion falls measured, like a pendulum steady in rhythm. Neither cruel nor merciful, she stands as a keeper, not of punishment or reward, but of presence and acceptance. In her presence, voices falter, for words seem small, and silence itself grows heavier, filling every breath with quiet weight. This is Hela, not feared through rage, but known through stillness, the one who watches, the one who remains.
In the halls beneath, time moves differently, for the river flows without haste, and the stones never shift or break. Above, the sun rises and falls, seasons turned and pass, yet here the stillness holds with unbroken certainty. Snow may cover the mountains, flowers may bloom in meadows, but no wind carries their scents into these corridors. Storms may roar over seas, thunder may roll through distant skies, yet here silence remains untouched, soft and steady. Generations live, struggle, and fade upon the earth, while below the silver river flows without pause through endless darkness. Those who enter this realm bring no fire, no laughter, no harvest song, only the quiet weight of their ending. The air neither welcomes nor rejects, it simply bears their presence, absorbing footsteps into stone that does not echo. And so the underworld holds them, not in torment, not in joy, but in the calm embrace of permanence. The living may dream of escape, yet the hall does not bend, for it knows only stillness and enduring return. It is a place not of fear, but of certainty, where the flow of time gathers and finally rests.
From the world above there came one whose name carried light, whose presence once filled halls with warmth and brightness. Balder, gentle and shining, stepped into the quiet realm, his glow softened yet not erased by the shadows. Where once his laughter rang across fields, now his voice was low, as though wrapped in veils of silence. He walked along the silver river, his reflection faint upon its still surface, his light bending into the dark. Those who looked upon him saw not a fallen warrior, but a flame that refused to vanish fully from sight. In Hela's hall he did not rage, nor did he plead, but carried himself with quiet sorrow and dignity. The hall received him as it did all others, without judgment or favor, steady as stone and river combined. Yet in his passing a faint shimmer lingered, as though the underworld itself softened to hold his fading radiance. Hela regarded him not as prize nor burden, but as presence, a guest among countless souls who drifted before. Thus Balder entered the realm of silence, his brightness dimmed but unbroken, a gentle star resting within endless night. Balder stood before Hela, his light dim but steady, while she sat silent upon her cold and waiting throne. Her eyes did not burn nor glimmer, yet they held a depth like waters unbroken by wind or stone. She regarded him with patience, with a stillness that weighed more heavily than any word that could be spoken. Balder lowered his head, not in defeat, but in recognition that even brightness must rest when its time has come. He spoke softly of the world above, of fields golden with grain, of skies that opened wide with summer light. His words moved gently through the hall, yet they fell without echo, as if absorbed by the endless quiet around. Hela listened, her face unreadable, her silence both heavy and merciful, like the deep shadow cast by ancient cliffs. She neither offered release nor punishment, neither promise nor denial, only the assurance that his place was now here. Her silence itself became an answer, one that needed no voice, for it spoke of endings wrapped in certainty. And so Balder remained, his glow a quiet flame within her hall, while Hela returned again to her endless watching. Balder felt the weight of silence settle upon him, not as a burden, but as a gentle and final cloak. The bright fire that once burned within him no longer sought to rise, but instead grew steady and unchanging. In the stillness of that hall, he understood that no plea, no word, could alter the shape of his fate. The silver river moved quietly nearby, carrying no reflection of sun or moon, only the dim shimmer of passing souls. Each step he took within the realm seemed lighter than the last, as though surrender itself gave him calm release. No storms reached this place, no winds tore through the walls, only the eternal hush of stone and shadow remained. Hela watched him with the same patient gaze she offered to all, her throne as motionless as mountain roots. She saw in him the fading glow of life, but also the quiet strength of one who did not resist. Acceptance became his final gift, the last brightness he could carry, shining faintly, even within the deep of silence. And thus the hall grew neither darker nor brighter, but settled into its rhythm, with Balder's glow woven into its stillness. Above the earth, the seasons turned, with winter snows melting to spring rains, and harvest fields bending with gold. Yet far below, in her silent hall, Hela sat unchanged, her throne unmoved, her presence steady as stone. She did not rise to follow the shifting skies, nor did she bend to the fleeting warmth of sunlight. Her realm remained untouched by storms or years, holding only the quiet flow of souls who found their way within. Balder's light lingered gently beside her, a pale glow in the shadows, neither growing nor fading, simply enduring. Hela's gaze never faltered, her silence never broke, for she was the watcher, patient and eternal, beyond time's reach. Those above might whisper her name in fear, yet here below she was only stillness, only the keeper of endings. And so she remained, while mountains crumbled, while rivers shifted, while the world above rose and fell again. Her hall held steady, her silence spread wide, and her waiting presence became part of the unchanging rhythm of the deep. Even as ages passed and memory turned to dream, her watch endured, whispering faintly through shadows, endless, solemn, and eternal.
Chapter 3.
Loki's gentle trick.
Loki moved softly across the fields, each step light as drifting smoke, each glance alive with hidden sparks of play. He carried no heavy tread, no echo of anger, only the calm silence of one who watches everything. Where shadows bent, he followed. Where sunlight fell, he lingered, slipping always between brightness and dark like shifting mist. His laughter lived inside him, quiet and waiting, not cruel or sharp, but gentle, curling like smoke in air. The land breathed around him, grass bending, trees whispering, as though the earth itself leaned closer to listen. Loki's eyes shone with thought, with secret games untold, sharp as a blade, yet soft as a drifting feather. He moved without hurry, for time seemed endless, and his mischief slept like a hidden ember within quiet ashes.
Beneath the open sky, Sif lay in the warmth of the day, her breathing soft and unbroken. The sun rested gently above her, spilling long rays of gold across the meadow, steady and unchanging. Her hair stretched outward like a field of wheat, shining bright as the harvest, bending softly in silent wind. Each strand caught the light, glowing like fire at dawn, yet cool as polished amber beneath the endless sky. The earth seemed still around her, as though the soil and stone paused to guard her untroubled rest. No storm approached, no cry disturbed the air, only the hush of insects drifting in circles above. Her stillness carried weight, for even silence seemed to bow before her presence, calm yet strong, quiet yet endless.
Loki stood nearby, his steps soundless, his eyes bright with thoughts that wandered like rivers beneath ice. He watched Sif with a stillness that almost seemed patient, yet beneath it a spark of mischief glimmered. Her golden hair glowed across the grass, stretching far like ripened grain, untouched and unguarded beneath the summer sun. A small smile curved on his lips, not cruel, not heavy, but sly and whispering with hidden laughter. He moved closer, bending low, his shadow falling across the golden strands like twilight across a quiet field. With careful hands, he drew a blade, its edge shining faintly, though the sound of it remained unspoken. The blade slipped through her hair, soft and smooth, severing brightness strand by strand, until silence held the loss. As the hair fell away, Loki's soft laughter trembled in the air, not sharp, but quiet as drifting smoke. What once lay bright, now lay dim, the ground gathering fallen strands, like faded sunlight, swallowed by the soil.
Sif stirred, her breath slow, her hands reaching across the grass as though still held by dreams' soft threads. Her eyes opened to the light, calm at first, until her fingers touched the emptiness where brightness once lived. She lifted her hands, trembling, seeing the strands fallen about her like broken rays scattered across the silent earth. The air seemed to grow heavier, pressing upon her as the sun itself dimmed behind slow gathering clouds. Her golden crown was gone, and with it the warmth she carried, the radiance that others so dearly cherished. Her sorrow spilled into the quiet, not in cries or shouts, but in silence too heavy to ignore. Others came, their eyes widening as they beheld the loss, their voices hushed, though no one dared speak first. In that stillness they felt the weight of absence, as if a field once fertile now lay barren. They turned their eyes toward Loki, suspicion already flickering, for mischief clung to him as smoke clings to fire. Beneath stone halls deep in the earth, the forges glowed with fire that pulsed like steady beating hearts. The dwarves moved with rhythm, their arms rising and falling, hammers striking metal with sound both sharp and sure. Each spark leapt upward, small and bright, drifting through the dim like fireflies searching for night's endless embrace. The air was heavy with heat, yet also calm, for the work followed patterns older than any spoken tale. They shaped gold as if it was soft clay, stretching it, weaving it, letting it flow into living strands. Their voices were few, their silence greater, but the song of iron against iron filled the hollow chambers. In that silence they forged not only hair, but treasures beyond count, wonders born from fire and patience. The hair gleamed, molten at first, then cooling to strands finer than silk, yet shining brighter than sunlight. Nearby, another piece was shaped with weight, a hammer that would answer storms, its handle short, yet its strength eternal. From the dark halls below, the treasures were lifted, glowing faintly as though the fire still clung to them. The golden hair shimmered, each strand alive, flowing like water, yet strong enough to never fade or wither. When placed upon Sif's head, it rooted itself gently, becoming her own, swaying like fields in a warm breeze. Her sorrow eased, though silence lingered, for she had felt loss, and now she carried both loss and renewal. Beside the hair lay gifts no less wondrous, each born of steady hands and unbroken rhythm of flame. There was a ring of wealth, a spear of perfect flight, and a ship that folded small yet held seas. And there was the hammer, heavy though not large, its handle short, yet its weight greater than any burden. It carried the sound of thunder within its core, though for now it rested quietly, waiting for unseen storms. Each treasure spoke of both loss and gift, reminding all that even mischief could leave behind seeds of creation. Loki stood apart, watching the treasures returned, his eyes glimmering, not with guilt, but with quiet satisfaction. He had cut away beauty, and from that loss had risen wonders that none could have imagined before. Trouble had turned into wealth, sorrow into renewal, and even silence now carried a faint whisper of laughter. He did not boast nor raise his voice, but a slow smile curled across his lips like a shadow. It was the smile of one who had touched absence, yet left behind something eternal that shimmered in memory. As the others praised the gifts, he lingered in stillness, his grin holding both mischief and something almost timeless. Even as the seasons turned and storms rose and fields bent under wind, the smile seemed to echo faintly. And so Loki remained, not as noise or fury, but as a quiet reminder. Mischief can shape wonder forever. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, whether your eyes stayed open or your thoughts slipped into dreaming. The tales were spoken not to bind you, not to hold you, but to drift across your mind like waves. Every word, whether heard fully or half remembered, has already settled like ash upon still water, fading without struggle. What remains now is not the telling itself, but the echo, the faint impression carried by silence and breath. Imagine the sea, still and endless, a horizon without edge, where the sky leans low and the water never storms. Each ripple is small, each movement quiet, and the shore stands far behind, while the night deepens with patient calm. Or if you wish, let your thoughts drift toward the halls of Hela, where stone stretches in silent endlessness. There, no winds howl, no fires burn, and no voices rise. Only the slow passing of shadows across unmoving stone. It is not a place of fear, nor of joy, but of rest, of waiting, of simple and unbroken quiet. Perhaps instead, you will remember the sparks of the forges glowing bright before fading, fireflies swallowed by soft and endless dark. The sound of hammers fades as well, steady at first, then slowing, then lost, leaving only the echo of rhythm. Creation becomes silence, light becomes shadow, and even the strongest treasures grow still, resting in memory rather than in hand. This is the cycle that every tale holds, whether spoken of sea, of halls, or of hidden forges. A gift appears, it is lost. Struggle follows. Silence rises. Yet something eternal remains, no longer seen, but always felt. So it is with these stories. So it is with each breath that passes. So it is with sleep itself. What leaves you is not gone. What fades is not ended. What drifts away remains in softer, quieter form. And now, let yourself rest. Imagine the sea still and endless, or the halls deep and quiet, or sparks fading into night. Let the weight fall from your thoughts. Let the silence grow wide, and let sleep take you, gently, without resistance. Nothing follows you now but stillness. Nothing remains but calm, and nothing waits but the slow, patient rhythm of dreams.